The
Tôi chưa bao giờ
afternoon
thấy bức
sunlight
tranh này trước
streamed
đây.
through the
Nó
wide
là của
glass
ai vậy?
windows of the Westwood
Tôi không biết,
mansion,
nhưng nó trông
casting
rất đắt
golden
tiền.
patterns across
Và
the
tại sao nó lại
pristine
ở
white
đây?
walls of the hallway. Jack Morrison moved methodically along the corridor, his rubber-gloved hands working a damp cloth over the ornate wooden trim. At 42, his face showed the weathering of a man who had worked his whole life, deep lines around eyes that had seen too much calloused hands that told stories of survival. The Navy uniform of Pacific Elite Security fit his broad shoulders well, though he wore it with the humility of a man who understood his place in the world of wealth he moved through but never belonged to. 3 months into this job as security and maintenance at the Westwood estate, Jack still felt the weight of good fortune. The position paid twice his previous salary, offered benefits for Emma, and provided stability they hadn't known in years. Maintaining the sprawling Pacific Palisades mansion overlooking the ocean was demanding but predictable work, exactly what a single father needed. Jack's movements slowed as his gaze drifted to a framed oil portrait hanging on the pristine wall. A small boy of about 4 with clear blue eyes, an innocent smile, and hair as soft as golden silk. Something familiar in those eyes made Jack's heart stutter. The rubber gloves on his hands suddenly felt constricting as memories flooded back. A dormitory with 12 beds, the smell of institutional disinfectant, and a small blond boy clutching a tattered teddy bear, crying for a sister who never came. His cleaning cloth fell from suddenly trembling fingers. The voice that escaped his throat was hoarse with shock. Thuoko toi biet ko bane, koe songwe toi tai trai mokoi. Sophia Westwood stood at the far end of the hall, casually dressed in loose ombre blonde hair, white jeans, and a simple blouse, the understated elegance of someone wealthy enough not to need to prove it. At 38, the film director carried herself with the confidence of someone accustomed to controlling room sets and narratives. But as Jack's words reached her, the coffee cup in her hand tilted dark liquid, shattering against Italian marble in 1,000 glittering pieces. Her face transformed beauty, turning to stone. "What did you just say?" Her voice emerged so faint, it nearly dissolved in the light. Jack swallowed, hard vision blurring, as he pointed at the painting. "This boy. He lived with me at Sunshine Orphanage in East LA from when he was 6 until 14. We called him Nathan Price. I'd know that face anywhere." Sophia staggered back, gripping the staircase railing for support. Her long legs seemed suddenly unable to hold her weight as her lips moved soundlessly for several moments. "That portrait is of Noah Westwood, my younger brother." Her voice cracked. "He vanished 30 years ago when he was 4. Are you certain that's him?" Jack nodded repeatedly, emotions overwhelming his usual professional reserve. "I'm sure, ma'am. At the orphanage, he always told us he once lived in a big house overlooking the sea with a beautiful sister and a white piano. No one believed him. Everyone thought it was just a child's imagination." Sophia's knees buckled. The iron-willed woman of Hollywood collapsed to the floor, sobbing like a child who had just found a missing piece of her soul. Jack knelt beside her, his own voice breaking. "Ma'am, I'm sorry. I tried to find him after he ran away, but I couldn't." The Los Angeles sun had shone as brightly as ever on that fateful Sunday morning, June 15, 1990. For the Westwood family, that sunlight would never feel warm again. David Westwood, a film director who had just won an Oscar for his family drama, took his 2 children for a morning walk at Griffith Park. 8-year-old Sophia watched her little brother run across the grass, his laughter ringing like silver bells. "Sophia, look, I caught a butterfly," Noah shouted, running toward her, his small hands cupped as if guarding a treasure. "Good job, Nugget," Sophia smiled, brushing his messy golden hair. "My little golden nugget, that's who you are." David sat on a wooden bench beneath an oak tree, watching them while talking on the phone with a producer. An important call about his next film project. "Just 5 more minutes, then we'll go home for breakfast," he said, patting Sophia's head. Just 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes destroyed their lives. Sophia chased a golden retriever wagging its tail nearby, about 20 meters away. Noah watched her, then looked down at the butterfly in his hands. He wanted to set it free. He walked toward a bush, opened his palms, and the butterfly fluttered away. When David hung up, only Sophia remained. "Dad, Dad, where's Noah?" Her voice trembled. David spun around, panic flooding his eyes. "Noah, Noah, where are you? Stop hiding from Daddy." But there was no answer. No sound of laughter. No trace of the blonde boy. Noah had vanished in broad daylight in the middle of a crowded park as if swallowed by the air itself. David ran everywhere shouting his son's name while Sophia cried and followed behind. Bystanders joined the search. Police arrived 15 minutes later, but by then it was too late. What followed was a nightmare that lasted 30 years. David Westwood used everything he had, money, fame, influence, to search for his 4-year-old son. He hired 5 of the best private detectives, offered a $2 million reward for any lead that could bring Noah home. He appeared on every major show, CNN, ABC News, The Oprah Winfrey Show, pleading for help. Julia Westwood, his wife, a gifted composer once nominated for a Grammy, abandoned her career, canceled every contract, and lived for one purpose, only to find her son. The Westwood mansion, once host to lavish Hollywood parties, turned into a command center for the search. Walls were covered with maps, photos of Noah, lists of leads, police reports, and frantic notes scrawled in marker. The LAPD investigated for 8 months. They combed every corner of the park, interviewed over 300 witnesses, and reviewed 12 surveillance cameras around the area. In one blurry video, a woman with brown hair and sunglasses was seen holding the hand of a boy in a blue shirt matching Noah's, walking toward the west parking lot at 10:00 a.m. But the footage was too grainy, faces unclear, no license plate visible. "We believe this was a premeditated abduction," said Detective James Rodriguez, a former FBI officer, during a briefing at the mansion. "But there's been no ransom demand, no contact," which means he stopped mid-sentence, but everyone understood what it meant. The child might be gone, forever, or worse, sold into a trafficking ring. David slammed the table, shouting, "No, my son is alive. I can feel it. I'm his father. I know." Julia sat frozen beside the white piano, the one she used to play lullabies for Noah, her trembling fingers resting on the keys, unable to press them. "Our boy is out there somewhere, scared, calling for me, and I can't reach him." Sophia curled up in a corner, hugging her knees. She had no tears left to cry. In her small hand, she clutched the teddy bear Noah had left behind that morning. Time passed. No news. Every lead ended in a dead end. Once a man in San Diego claimed he saw a boy resembling Noah in a supermarket. David and Julia drove 3 hours, hearts pounding, only to find it wasn't him, just another blonde child. Another time, a woman in Arizona reported a suspicious couple with a young boy. A detective flew there immediately. The result, a legally adopted child. Each false hope was another knife to the heart. The Westwood family began to fall apart. Julia was the first to break. She couldn't accept that her son was gone. Every night she left Noah's room untouched. Toys on the shelf, clothes neatly folded in the closet, his favorite Spider-Man blanket laid across the bed. She cooked his favorite meals, bear-shaped pancakes, grilled cheese sandwiches, chocolate milk, and set them on the table in his usual seat, as if any moment he might burst in laughing. "Mom, he's not coming back," 10-year-old Sophia sobbed in the arms of her Aunt Margaret, who had moved in to help. Julia hugged the piano, whispering through tears, "He'll come back, sweetheart. That morning he told me, 'I'll play the piano for you tonight.' He promised. He has to keep his promise." Her fingers trembled as she pressed the keys. The familiar melody of Chopin's Nocturne now sounded like a weeping spirit. David, on the other hand, chose escape. He buried himself in work, filming, non-stop, refusing to go home. When he did return, he saw Noah's shadow in every feature of Sophia's face. He began drinking a bottle of whiskey every night. Sometimes, in drunken despair, he screamed, "Why? Why did I answer that call? Dad, do you still love me?" Sophia asked softly from the doorway one night. David froze. The bottle slipped from his hand. For the first time in months, he knelt and hugged his daughter tight. "I'm sorry, Sophie. I love you, but I don't know how to live when your brother's not here. Every time I look at you, I relive that day. I failed to protect both of you." But I'm still here, Dad," she cried. "Please don't make me lose you too." David held her long and hard. "I'll try. I promise." But the pain was too deep, and he didn't know how to keep that promise. 2 years after the disappearance, on a cold winter morning in '97, Julia Westwood passed away. It was Sophia, only 10, who found her. Julia lay still on her bed, clutching Noah's blue shirt. On the table, an empty bottle of sleeping pills and a hurried note. "My dearest Nugget, I'm sorry. I searched everywhere but couldn't find you. I'm so tired now. If there's another life, I'll find you again and never lose you. I love you forever. And my beloved Sophie, live for me and your brother. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough. The newspapers called it an accidental overdose, but Sophia knew it wasn't an accident. At the funeral, she stood still before the coffin, dry-eyed. She placed Noah's teddy bear into her mother's hands and whispered, "Take care of him for me, Mom. When I find him, I'll come bring you both home." In that small, shattered heart, a silent vow was born. I'll find you, little brother, even if it takes my whole life. After Julia's death, David tried to survive for Sophia's sake, but the pain had consumed him. He drank more, relied on painkillers, and slowly lost himself. Studios stopped working with the unstable director. Money ran out spent on investigations and therapy. When Sophia turned 11, David had to sell his car, then jewelry, and finally considered selling the mansion. "Dad, we don't need a big house. I just need you." But he shook his head. "If I sell this house, Noah won't find his way home." With Aunt Margaret's help, they managed to keep the house, but not him. 3 years later, on a rainy night along Mulholland Drive, David's car veered off a cliff. Police said he was drunk. Family believed he chose to end it. Inside the car, they found an old photo, the four of them together on Christmas 1994, the last complete family portrait. Sophia, 13, became an orphan. At her father's funeral, she whispered quietly to the coffin, "Dad, did you find him yet? If you did, tell him I'm still searching. I won't stop." Sophia was adopted by Aunt Margaret Thornton, a successful Hollywood screenwriter. Margaret loved her like her own daughter, but no one could replace her parents. Sophia grew up in silence, strong to the point of frightening. She excelled in school, graduated at the top of her class, and earned a full scholarship to USC's School of Cinematic Arts. No parties, no dating, just study work and writing. Professors called her the most gifted and most solitary student they'd ever taught. After graduation, Sophia started at the very bottom of the film industry as a production assistant. She worked 16-hour days, no weekends. By 25, she was an independent producer. By 30, she founded Westwood Productions. By 38, she had become one of Hollywood's most powerful female directors. 3 box office hits, 1 Oscar nomination. But behind the spotlight lived a heart that had never healed. Sophia never married, never loved anyone long enough. "I can't love when a piece of my heart is still out there somewhere," she once told her best friend Jessica. Every year on June 15th, Sophia returned to Griffith Park, standing at the exact spot where her brother vanished. "Nugget, I'm still looking for you. If you're alive, give me a sign." Just one sign. She hired detectives annually, spending millions on missing child organizations. Whenever there was even the smallest lead, Mexico, Toronto, Chicago, she flew there herself. Everyone a dead end. 30 years, over 150 leads, not a single result. The Westwood mansion now housed only Sophia, a dust-covered white piano, and a portrait of 4-year-old Noah on the wall. Each night, she sat before that painting, glass of wine in hand, eyes lost in the past. "Do you still remember me, Nugget? Are you still alive?" And then on one seemingly ordinary afternoon, a maintenance man walked into her life, and from that moment on, nothing would ever be the same again. Jack Morrison was born in 1983 in the small town of Prescott, Arizona. His father, James Morrison, was a carpenter. His mother, Linda Morrison, was a preschool teacher. They weren't wealthy, but that home was always filled with love. Jack remembered evenings when his father taught him to build his first wooden box, and mornings when his mother baked the sweet scent of vanilla drifting through the kitchen. That happiness didn't last. In 1991, when Jack was 8, his parents died in a car accident on the road back from Flagstaff. A truck lost control and hit them head-on. Both died at the scene. Jack, at home with his grandmother, got the news over the phone. He still remembered his grandmother's choked sobs, the way his legs suddenly went weak, and how he couldn't breathe. His grandmother tried to take him in, but she was 75, had heart disease, and no longer had the strength. Jack's uncle in Texas already had 4 children and couldn't take another. Arizona Social Services had to step in. A caseworker named Karen Phillips came to the house, spoke with his grandmother, then knelt in front of the boy. "Jack, you're going to a new place. There will be lots of kids there. They'll take care of you." "I don't want to go. I want to stay with Grandma." His grandmother hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, I don't have the strength, but I'll come visit." She never could. 6 months later, she died of a heart attack. At 8 years old, Jack became completely orphaned. In September 1991, Jack was taken to the Sunshine Orphanage in East Los Angeles, California. Sunshine wasn't the worst, but it wasn't good. A 3-story rundown building with peeling paint and a leaky roof. 80 children crammed into dorm rooms of 10 to 12 beds. The food kept you full but was bland. Stew mashed potatoes, limp stir-fried vegetables. 6 staff members had to watch over 80 kids, all kind-hearted but exhausted. And the children there, each one a left-behind soul carrying a private pain. 8-year-old Jack was lonely, angry, and afraid. He knew his parents hadn't left him on purpose, but the pain remained. In the first months, he clutched his mother's sweater, the only item he was allowed to bring, and cried every night. Some kid mocked him, "Crybaby orphan, still crying." An older boy named Derek grabbed the sweater and tossed it into the toilet. Jack lunged to get it back, ended up with a black eye, but saved the sweater. Gradually, Jack learned how to survive. Stay silent when it hurt. Stand up when bullied and protect the younger kids because he knew what it felt like to be wounded. He had once dreamed of becoming an architect, drawing beautiful houses where people were always together. He drew very well. Teachers praised him. But in an orphanage college, dreams felt far away. No money, no sponsor. The only thing was the present, getting through each day, hoping for a miracle that someone would come to adopt him. No one came. Jack grew up at Sunshine for 10 years, from 8 to 18. And in those 10 years, one little boy changed everything. In September 97, when Jack was 14, a new boy arrived. Nathan Price, 6 years old, small, with tousled blonde hair and blue eyes brimming with tears. Social worker Jennifer Lawson, 35, gray blazer, cool face, led him into the office and spoke with the orphanage manager, Margaret Ross, 55, gray-haired, kind, but weary. "This is Nathan Price. His adoptive parents, the Andersons, died in an accident in Nevada last week. No relatives. Here's the birth certificate. He was born in 1991 in Las Vegas. The records are unclear, but they've been verified." Margaret looked at the boy, her eyes full of pity. In 20 years at the orphanage, she had met hundreds of children, but her heart still hurt like the first time. "Hello, Nathan. I'm Margaret. From now on, this place is your home. I'll take care of you." Nathan said nothing, hugging a teddy bear. One arm torn, an eye crooked, its fur matted, and looked around in confusion. Jennifer set down a bag of clothes. "Here are his things. I have to go." She turned and left quickly without looking back. Margaret took Nathan to the dining hall. It was dinner time, stew and mashed potatoes. Jack sat at a corner table eating quietly and looked up when he saw the new boy. Nathan stood in the noisy room as if hearing nothing. He whispered, "Sophie, where are you? You promised you'd protect me." "Who's the kid talking to?" "Derek now." 16 sneered. "Crazy." A few others burst out laughing. Jack didn't. He looked into Nathan's eyes and saw himself in earlier days. The pain of a child abandoned, bereft of family, doubted by everyone. That night, when everyone was asleep, Jack saw Nathan sitting alone in the backyard, an old swing creaking beside a rusty slide. The boy tilted his face to the sky and softly sang a sad lullaby. "I'll come home to the white piano to Sister Sophie. Mom will play, Dad will tell stories, and I'll be happy." Jack walked over and sat on the swing beside him. "You okay?" Nathan started and wiped his tears. "Who are you?" "I'm Jack. I live here. Welcome to your home." The blue eyes widened. "Home? But my home isn't here. My home is by the sea. There's a white piano. There's Sister Sophie." "Who is Sister Sophie?" "My sister. She's really pretty with long blonde hair. She promised to protect me. She calls me Nugget." His voice shook. "Where is she? I don't know. I can't remember clearly, but I know she's real. I have a home. I have a family. I hear piano. Mom plays Chopin. Our house looks out over the sea. But no one believes me. They say I'm imagining things." Jack knew that feeling. When he first came to the orphanage, he told stories about his parents, every detail. Then, as no one cared and the kids said, "Forget it, they're dead," he learned to keep quiet. But Nathan was different. He still believed, remembered, hoped. "I believe you," Jack said, putting a hand on the boy's shoulder. Nathan's eyes lit up as if catching a thread of light. "You really believe me? You don't think I'm crazy?" "No, and I'll help. One day I'll help you find your family." Nathan hugged Jack, sobbing. From then on, a brotherhood without blood ties began. In the 4 years that followed, Jack and Nathan became real brothers. Jack shielded Nathan from bullies. Once Derek grabbed Nathan's teddy bear, threw it into the toilet, and flushed. Nathan screamed in tears. Usually calm, Jack drove a straight punch into Derek's face, breaking his nose. Jack was punished with 3 nights without dinner, but he had no regrets. That night, he snuck into Nathan's room with bread and an apple he'd hidden. "It's okay, Nugget. I'll always protect you." "Nugget," Nathan blinked. "You called me exactly what Sister Sophia calls me." Jack smiled. "Because you deserve that nickname. You're a precious golden nugget to me." Nathan laughed, his first laugh since arriving at the orphanage. "You're so much like Sophie. You're as kind as she is." Jack had fished out the teddy bear, washed it, and stitched the torn arm. "Here, I fixed it." Nathan hugged it tight, tears rolling down. "Thank you. You're the best person I've ever met besides my family." Jack shared his meals whenever Nathan was hungry. He taught Nathan to read and write when he started first grade, patiently pointing out each letter. Every night, Jack told stories he made up himself. Brave princes finding their way home. Most importantly, he always listened to Nathan's family stories, even when others called them delusions. "I have a house by the sea, blue waves, a very big white piano. My mom plays nocturnes. My dad makes films about families. My sister Sophie is 8, always holding my hand, singing to me, calling me Nugget." "Why don't you go home?" Jack asked once. "I don't remember the way. I only remember my name is Noah, but now everyone calls me Nathan. I don't understand why. I remember warmth, the sound of the piano. Then a woman with sunglasses took me away. I don't remember her face. After that, I had adoptive parents, the Andersons. They were very kind, but then they died and I ended up here." Nathan drew a lot. The house by the sea, the white piano, a long-haired woman at the keys, a little girl holding a boy's hand and looking out at the ocean. Jack kept every drawing and taped them to the dorm wall. "You'll go home someday, Nugget. I believe it. When you do, you have to take me to see the real house." "But now I have you. You're my family." Nathan hugged Jack. "And you're my little brother. Always." In 2001, Nathan turned 10 and Jack 18. Time to age out per California law. He got a construction job at a small company, $12 an hour. He rented a room in East LA for $400 a month. 1 bed, a hot plate, shared bathroom. Jack had a plan saved for 2 years, rent a 2-bedroom apartment. When Nathan turned 12, he would apply to foster and adopt him. On the day Jack left, Nathan cried his heart out. "Don't leave me. You're the only one I have. I'm scared." Jack knelt on the grass outside the orphanage and hugged the 10-year-old tight, his own tears falling. "I'm not leaving you, Nugget. I'll visit every week. Just 2 more years, and I'll bring you home. I promise you'll have a real family." "Do you really promise you're not lying?" "I promise, cross my heart, and hope to die." Jack drew a cross on his chest like his father used to when making an important promise. "I love you, Nathan." "I love you too, Jack, more than anything." Jack kept his word. He came every Sunday, rain or shine. He brought pizza, chocolate bars, orange juice, clothes when Nathan outgrew his sketch pads, and good-colored pencils because he knew Nathan loved to draw. The two sat in the orphanage yard and talked about dreams. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Jack asked one spring afternoon in 2003 when Nathan was 12. "I want to find Sophie, and I want to paint. I'll make paintings that make people remember home, family, what matters." "You will. You're talented. I believe you'll be a great artist. And in just 1 more year, you'll come live with me." Nathan beamed. "Don't forget your promise." "I won't. I'm saving every day. I'm working extra hours. I'll keep my word." Jack worked 2 jobs. Construction by day, building security by night. 14 hours a day. He skipped meals, didn't buy new clothes. Every dollar saved for a 2-bedroom apartment for Nathan. Then everything collapsed. In March 2005, when Nathan was 14, tragedy struck. The Sunshine Orphanage had a supervisor named Frank Miller. 42, big, rough, prone to drinking and yelling, even hitting kids. Nathan was afraid of him. One night, Nathan drew until 11 p.m., a large painting of the house by the sea, the piano sister, Sophie. He forgot to turn off the dorm lights. Miller, doing rounds, saw it and flew into a rage over wasting electricity. He dragged Nathan out of bed and slapped him hard in the face. Useless. An artist, huh? You're a kid. Nobody wants family piano, sister. All in your head. 8 years of pain and mockery boiled over. I'm not useless. My family is real, Sophie is real, and Jack is going to take me away. Miller grew even more enraged and beat him savagely, punching his stomach, kicking his ribs, slapping him over and over. Blood poured out, a rib likely cracked. Nathan tried to fight back, shoving Miller into a table. The man beat him harder. The kids were terrified into silence. Margaret wasn't there that night, only Miller in fear. At last, Miller stormed off, growling, "Get back to your room, open your mouth to anyone, and you're dead." But Nathan didn't go back that night. He stuffed a few clothes into a bag, grabbed his teddy bear and a stack of drawings, and climbed out through the bathroom window. A 14-year-old boy disappeared into the Los Angeles night. Sunday morning, Jack arrived as he did every week with pizza and sketch pads. Margaret met him, eyes wet. "Jack Nathan ran away 3 days ago. We haven't found him. The police are investigating, but..." Jack was stunned. The pizza box slipped and sprang open. "Why didn't you call me immediately? How could you let him go?" "What happened?" Margaret cried. "Frank Miller. He beat Nathan for drawing late. We didn't foresee, he said it was just a light punishment. When we checked, Nathan was gone." "Where is Frank Miller, all?" Jack shouted, rage and tears surging. "He's been suspended. The police are investigating. But Jack, we have to find Nathan first." Jack didn't listen further. He ran out into the streets and tore through the city. Parks, bus stations, underpasses, dark alleys, shouting hoarsely, "Nugget! Where are you? It's me, I'll protect you. Come out to me." Not a trace. He reported it to the police. They were indifferent. "Runaways are common. He'll come back when he's hungry or he'll turn up." "He's not a runaway. He's my little brother. He's 14. He was beaten. He could be starving," Jack yelled at the station. "We'll keep an eye out. We'll let you know if something comes up." Jack searched for 6 months. He posted more than 2,000 flyers across the city. Nathan's photo, his phone number, the line, "Please help me find my brother." He asked every homeless person he met, paid them to watch for him. He quit his construction job to search full-time, keeping only the night security shift to survive. Every dollar of his savings, $8,000 meant for the apartment with Nathan, vanished printing flyers, hiring a private investigator for $2,000, useless paying helpers to search. No results. Nathan had been swallowed by the vast city of Los Angeles. Jack carried a gnawing guilt. I promised to protect him. Only 6 more months and I was too slow. I broke my promise. I lost him. Every night he woke from nightmares. Nathan calling for help in the dark. "Jack, you promised." While he ran and ran, but could never reach him. On the streets, he saw Nathan in the faces of every street kid, and up close, it wasn't him. He put Nathan's drawings into the wooden box his father had once made. He couldn't bring himself to open it because it hurt too much. But on the loneliest nights, he did open it, looked at each line. The piano, the seaside house, the long-haired girl holding the boy's hand, and whispered, "Nugget, where are you? I'm sorry. I should have been stronger, faster." In 2006, Jack went back to working pool and garden maintenance. He had to live. He kept searching, but hope faded by the day. Time passed. In 2011, 28-year-old Jack met Michelle, a fun-loving bartender. They fell in love quickly, passionately, and without much thought. A year later, Michelle was pregnant. "I'm not sure I'm ready to be a mother," Michelle said, eyes full of worry. "I'll be here with you." "We can do this," Jack said, holding her hand, a sincere promise from a man who had endured too much pain and loss. In 2012, Emma Morrison was born on a March morning, weighing 2.8 kilos, was her cry ringing out. Jack held his tiny daughter in his arms, tears streaming. "She's as beautiful as an angel." But Michelle didn't think so. She crashed after giving birth, unable to handle the pressure of motherhood, the nightly crying, the unending demands. "I can't, Jack. I can't do this. I'm too young. I need to live." 6 months after Emma was born, Jack woke one morning to an empty home. Michelle was gone. No explanation, just a note. "I'm sorry, I'm not strong enough. She'll be happier with you." And Jack Morrison, with no degree and little money, became a single father. He poured all the love he had meant to give Nathan into raising Emma. By day, security. By night, whatever it took, so his daughter lacked nothing. Each night, when Emma slept, he opened the wooden box, looked at Nathan's drawings, and whispered, Please be alive. Please have found a family. Don't resent me. In 2025, Jack was 42, Emma 7. He landed a maintenance job at the Westwood Mansion in Pacific Palisades. Stable work at $25 an hour, enough to provide for his child. One October afternoon, while wiping windows along the second-floor hallway, Jack looked up and saw the portrait hanging on the wall. Nathan's face, Nathan's blue eyes, Nathan's smile. Thua ko toi biak ko bene, kawe sungwe toi tai tri mo koi. After that fateful moment, Sophia Westwood was still sitting on the cold marble floor, tears streaming without end. Beside her, Jack Morrison knelt at a loss for what to do. A 42-year-old maintenance man who in a few short minutes had shattered the world of a powerful film director. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Jack asked, his voice shaking. Sophia looked up, her blue eyes, the very same shade as Nathan's, red from crying. "Okay. You just told me that my brother, the boy I've been searching for over 30 years, lived in an orphanage barely 20 miles from here. And you're asking if I'm okay." Jack lowered his head. "I'm sorry, I didn't know. If I had known sooner." Sophia wiped her tears and struggled to stand. Her legs were still trembling. "No, it's not your fault. You took care of my brother. You protected him. You did what my family couldn't." Her voice caught. "Thank you." Jack stood, eyes still wet. "But I failed. I lost him." "No." Sophia stepped closer and set a hand on his shoulder. "You gave my brother what my parents couldn't in their time. Love at the exact moment he needed it most. Now we're going to search. We'll bring Noah home together." Sophia led Jack into the living room, a vast high-ceiling space with floor-to-ceiling glass looking straight out over the Pacific. The white grand piano, the one Nathan always mentioned, sat by the window under a thin layer of dust. No one had touched it since Julia died. "Please sit, Jack. We need to talk about everything." Sophia poured 2 glasses of water, her hands still faintly shaking. Jack sat on the white sofa, perhaps the first time he'd ever sat on something that expensive. He felt out of place, but Sophia's earnest gaze steadied him. "Tell me from the beginning. Every detail, please." And Jack told her, from the day 6-year-old Nathan was brought to the Sunshine Orphanage, how the boy spoke of Sister Sophie, of a white piano of a house overlooking the sea, how the drawings appeared every day, a family blurred by memory, but never gone, how at night Nathan softly hummed the Chopin Nocturne his mother used to play, how he was mocked for imagining things, how Jack shielded him, and how they became brothers. "He always talked about you," Jack said, his voice unsteady. "He said you were very beautiful, with long blonde hair, always protecting him. You called him Nugget. Even when everyone said he was delusional, he kept believing you'd find him one day." Sophia burst into tears. "Nugget. Dear God, that's my brother. It's definitely him. I called him Nugget. I promised I would always protect him, but I failed." "No, you didn't. You were 8. You were a child." "But I promised." Sophia covered her face and sobbed. When they had both calmed, Sophia asked, "You said Nathan ran away from the orphanage at 14. What then? Did you have any leads?" Jack shook his head, tears rising again. "I searched for 6 months. Posted flyers, asked everywhere, but there was no trace. He vanished as if he had never existed." Sophia stood and opened a large wooden cabinet, pulling out a thick file. "This is everything I have on my brother. 30 years of investigation, over 150 leads, all dead ends. But now I have you. I have new information. We are going to find my brother." She opened the file, hundreds of pages, police reports, photos, maps, witness lists. In the middle lay an old sheet, a child's pencil drawing a house, a piano, 2 people holding hands. Beneath it, a scrawled line, "I am Noah." "Wait." Jack stared at the drawing, heart pounding. "What's your brother's name?" "Noah. Noah Westwood." "Why?" "Nathan said that when he was little he was called Noah, but when he entered the orphanage his name became Nathan Price. When I asked why the change, he said he didn't remember, only that someone had changed everything." Sophia shivered. "A name change, forged papers. This was a conspiracy. Someone abducted my brother deliberately, not for ransom but to sell him." Jack nodded, pieces clicking into place. "The Andersons, Nathan's adoptive parents. He said they were kind people, but they died when he was 6, leaving him vulnerable again." Sophia's eyes hardened. Nathan Price was never their legal son. Noah Westwood was a stolen child sold to them. The situation grew more complex with each revelation. Their emotions swirled, hope, rage, grief, determination, as they pieced together the fragments of a 30-year-old crime. Jack hesitated, then pulled out his phone. I still have photos. He scrolled through, finding a saved folder labeled simply N. He passed the phone to Sophia. There on the small screen was a 12-year-old boy with familiar blue eyes, holding up a drawing of a seaside house with a piano. His smile was tentative but bright. That's Noah, Sophia whispered, touching the screen. That's my brother. She looked at Jack, fresh tears spilling over. All those years my family searched, and he was so close, 20 miles away. If only we'd known. Jack's throat tightened with emotions he couldn't name. Nathan, Noah, he never stopped believing. He never forgot you. Every drawing, every story was his way of keeping you alive in his heart. Sophia clutched the phone, staring at the image of her lost brother. In that moment, something changed in her eyes. The hardened film director softened, and Jack glimpsed the 8-year-old girl who had lost her brother in a park 30 years ago. I spent my entire adult life building walls, Sophia admitted quietly. Success, awards, money, none of it matters. I just wanted my family back. Jack understood completely. He'd built his own walls, protecting himself from the pain of losing Nathan, of Michelle's abandonment. We both lost family, but maybe now we can find one piece back. Their gazes held across the coffee table, two broken people who had spent decades carrying private grief, now suddenly sharing a purpose, a hope. You have a daughter, Sophia asked, noticing a photo on Jack's phone lock screen. Jack's face transformed, eyes brightening. Emma, she's 7, my whole world. Sophia smiled, the first real smile Jack had seen. Tell me about her. She's incredible. Smart, creative, stubborn, loves drawing just like Noah did. She's the reason I keep going. After losing Nathan, I didn't think I could love that deeply again. Then Emma came and she saved me. She sounds wonderful, Sophia said softly. I never had children. Always told myself I was too busy, but the truth is I was afraid. Afraid to love that much and lose again. Jack nodded, understanding the fear too well. Emma asks about her mother sometimes. Michelle left when she was 6 months old. Couldn't handle motherhood. I tell Emma that some people aren't ready to be parents, but it never had anything to do with her. You're a good father, Sophia observed. I try. Being a single parent is hard, but I promised myself I'd never let Emma feel unwanted. Not like I did. Not like Nathan did. Their conversation was interrupted by Jack's phone alarm. I'm sorry, he said, silencing it. I need to pick Emma up from after-school care in an hour. Of course, Sophia said, then hesitated. Jack, would you bring Emma here tomorrow? I'd like to meet her. And I'd like you both to stay for dinner. We can continue our discussion about finding Noah. Jack was surprised by the invitation. Are you sure Emma can be a handful? Sophia's smile widened. I'm sure. It's been too long since this house had a child's laughter in it. Before Jack left, Sophia handed him a business card with her personal number. Call me anytime, day or night, if you remember anything else about Nathan, about Noah. Jack took the card, their fingers brushing briefly. I will. And Sophia, we'll find him. I promise. As Jack stepped outside into the fading afternoon light, he felt something he hadn't experienced in 20 years, hope. Not just for finding Nathan, but perhaps for healing the wounds that had shaped his life since childhood. That evening, after putting Emma to bed with her favorite story, Jack carefully opened the wooden box he kept hidden in his closet. Inside lay dozens of Nathan's drawings preserved through the years. He spread them across his small kitchen table, studying each one with new understanding. The house by the sea wasn't fantasy. The piano wasn't imagination. The sister wasn't a dream. They were memories, fragments of Noah Westwood's true life preserved in the heart and mind of a child who refused to forget. Jack gently touched a drawing of the white piano. We're coming for you, Nugget, he whispered. Wherever you are, we'll find you. This time I'll keep my promise. The morning sunlight filtered through Sophia's kitchen windows as she poured a cup of coffee, her third since dawn. She hadn't slept. How could she? After 30 years of fruitless searching, a maintenance man had walked into her house and shattered everything she thought she knew about her brother's disappearance. Noah hadn't vanished without a trace. He'd been living in an orphanage 20 miles away, going by the name Nathan Price. Sophia immediately called James Rodriguez, the former FBI officer, who had stood with the Westwood family for 3 decades. Now 68, he was retired, but had never stopped following the case. Sophia, what's going on? His voice was old but steady through the speakerphone. Sophia gripped the edge of her marble countertop. James, I found someone who knows about my brother. He lived in an orphanage under the name Nathan Price at Sunshine, East LA from 1997 to 2005. A beat of silence, then his voice wavered. What, Sophia, are you certain? More certain than ever. I need you here right now. I'm on my way. 45 minutes later, James Rodriguez arrived at the Westwood mansion, tall, silver-haired face, etched with lines, but eyes still keen. He entered the kitchen where Sophia waited with a fresh pot of coffee and the thick file of evidence spread across the island. Tell me everything, James said, setting down his worn leather briefcase. Sophia recounted Jack's revelation, showing him the photos of 12-year-old Noah that Jack had shared. James studied the image, his experienced eyes narrowing. It's him. The eye's the bone structure. It's Noah. Where's this maintenance man now? Jack's bringing his daughter over for dinner tonight. He has more information about Noah's time at the orphanage. James nodded, opening his laptop. Let me run a check on this Sunshine orphanage and the social worker, Jennifer Lawson, you said. Yes, Jack mentioned she brought Noah there when he was 6, claiming his adoptive parents had died in Nevada. James's fingers flew across the keyboard. Jennifer Lawson. I remember that name. She was a social worker in LA in the 1990s. There were many questionable reports. Children removed messy files, but we were never able to charge her. Sophia leaned forward. You think she was involved? Highly likely. If she brought Noah under an alias into the orphanage with forged documents, she was certainly a link in the chain. James flipped through old files. In 1995, when Noah was abducted, we had a blurry camera clip of a brunette woman in sunglasses holding the hand of a boy in a blue shirt. We couldn't identify her, but now... He pulled out a photograph from 1997, Jennifer Lawson, at a social services conference. Brown hair, a build nearly matching the woman in the video. It's her, James concluded, placing the photos side by side. I believe so. We need to find her. Sophia stood abruptly, pacing the kitchen. She might know where Noah is. James typed into his computer again, his expression darkening. She died in 2018, lung cancer. Sophia's shoulders slumped, hope deflating. Dead end again. Not quite, James replied, still typing. She has a daughter, Rebecca Lawson, 40 years old, lives in Santa Monica. We need to speak to her. But we have to be cautious, Sophia warned. If she knows what her mother did, she might refuse to cooperate, or worse, alert others in the network. James closed his laptop. I'll need to call in some favors. This is potentially part of a child trafficking ring, not just one abduction. We need to handle this properly. Sophia's eyes flashed. I don't care about proper. I've waited 30 years. I'm going to see her right now. Sophia, wait, James began, but she was already grabbing her keys. Are you coming or not? That afternoon, Sophia, James, and Jack drove to Santa Monica to a small apartment near the beach. Emma stayed with Jack's neighbor, Mrs. Chen, who often watched her when Jack worked late. The drive was tense, each lost in their thoughts. Jack broke the silence. What if this Rebecca person doesn't know anything? James turned from the passenger seat. Then we keep digging, but someone knows what happened to Noah after he ran from Sunshine. Sophia gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. I've followed hundreds of leads that went nowhere. This time feels different. They parked outside a modest apartment complex 2 blocks from the ocean. The salty air carried the distant sound of waves as they approached Unit 214. James took the lead, knocking firmly. Rebecca Lawson opened the door, a 40-year-old woman with brown hair and a weary face. Seeing them, she flinched. Who are you? Her eyes darted between the 3 strangers. Sophia stepped forward. I'm Sophia Westwood. This is Detective James Rodriguez and Jack Morrison. We want to ask about your mother, Jennifer Lawson. Rebecca turned pale, gripping the doorframe. My mother is dead. What do you want? We want to know about a boy named Noah Westwood. Your mother abducted him in 1995, and we believe you know something. Rebecca stepped back, trembling. I don't know. Please. Sophia's voice broke her composed facade, cracking. Noah is my brother. He was kidnapped when he was 4. My family fell apart. My parents died of grief. I've searched for him for 30 years. Please, if you know anything, tell me." Rebecca looked at Sophia, then at Jack and James. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I, I know about that boy and about many others. They sat in Rebecca's small living room. She poured water, her hands still shaking. Outside, the Pacific Ocean stretched endlessly, oblivious to the human drama unfolding in its shadow. "My mother wasn't a good person," Rebecca began, her voice barely audible. "She worked for a child trafficking ring, not to abuse them, but to sell them to wealthy families who couldn't have children. Illegal adoptions. And my brother," Sophia leaned forward, barely breathing. "Noah Westwood. Yes, I remember that name. My mother kidnapped him from Griffith Park in 1995. A wealthy couple, the Andersons, paid $200,000 for a little boy. They couldn't conceive and they couldn't adopt legally because of background issues. So they paid my mother." Sophia's hands clenched into fists. "Your mother kidnapped my brother to sell him." "Oh," Rebecca nodded, crying. I'm sorry, I was only 10. I saw my mother bring a boy home. He cried, calling for his sister and his mother. My mother gave him a sleeping pill. 3 days later, the Andersons came. They paid the money and took him away. My mother redid the paperwork. He became Nathan Price, born in Nevada, an orphan. But the Andersons died in '97, Jack said. Nathan Noah was sent to the orphanage. Yes, they died in an accident. My mother had to handle the boy. She couldn't let him tell the truth, so she placed him in the orphanage with forged documents, hoping time would erase his memories. He was little. She thought he would forget. But my brother didn't forget, Sophia whispered. No, and it haunted my mother until the day she died. James scribbled notes rapidly. What about the others in the ring? Rebecca opened a drawer and took out an old notebook. Before she died, my mother gave me this. She said if anyone ever came looking, I should give it to them. She regretted it, but she was too afraid to confess. Inside was a list, names, addresses, amounts. More than 30 children abducted and sold from 1990 to 2010. One dedicated page, Noah Westwood, Nathan Price, 1995, abducted Griffith Park, sold to Anderson, Nevada, $200,000. A note underneath ran from Sunshine, free 2005. Whereabouts unknown, possibly deceased. Sophia clutched the notebook, her whole body trembling. No, my brother isn't dead. He's alive. He has to be. Rebecca laid a hand over Sophia's. I'm sorry, I don't know how to make amends. You can help me find my brother, Sophia said, meeting her gaze. That's how you make it right. After meeting Rebecca, Sophia immediately hired a professional team of 5 private investigators led by James Rodriguez. The timeline was pulled back to 2005, the year Nathan disappeared from the orphanage. Where would a 14-year-old boy go after running away from home? James opened the briefing right there at the Westwood mansion. Around the table sat Sophia, Jack, and the 4 other detectives. He'd be scared, Jack answered, remembering the bruised, sensitive boy he'd known. He'd just been beaten, his trust in adults almost gone. He'd hide in places where no one pays attention to: a stray kid, underpasses, parks, poor neighborhoods. Detective Maria Santos nodded, making notes. We need to sweep hospital records, shelters, even police reports. Check for John Doe's matching his description, added James. A 14-year-old alone might use different names if he's afraid. Start with a 5-mile radius from Sunshine, then expand. Sophia directed, slipping naturally into her role as director. Every homeless shelter, soup kitchen, hospital, and youth center. The search began in earnest. For 2 weeks, they found nothing. Then Maria traced a record at County USC Medical Center. In August 2005, a teenage boy around 14-15 was brought into the ER, she reported, spreading her notes across Sophia's dining table. No ID, body covered in injuries, cracked ribs, malnutrition, infection. When asked his name, he only said N, then fell silent. After 2 weeks of treatment, he vanished before the hospital could contact social services. It could be him, Jack said, heart pounding. The timing fits. Nathan was beaten badly when he ran. They went to the hospital to meet the physician who treated him, Dr. Helen Martinez, now 65 and nearing retirement. She received them in her cluttered office walls lined with medical certificates and children's drawings. Yes, I remember that boy, she said, pushing up her glasses, her voice softening. Hard to forget. So young to be so hurt. Defensive wounds on his hands, old and new bruises. Someone had beaten him repeatedly. He spoke little, very closed off, but he drew on chart paper on napkins, a house to piano. I asked if that was his home, and he just nodded and cried. Sophia gently squeezed her hand. Did he mention any family? He did. He said, I have to find Sister Sophie. She's waiting for me. I asked who Sophie was. He said, my sister, the only one who loves me. Then he asked how to find a missing person. I told him to go to the police, but he was afraid. He said they'd send him back to a terrible place. She sighed, removing her glasses. One night he climbed out the window and disappeared. He left a note beforehand. I still have it. Dr. Martinez opened a drawer and took out a yellowed sheet of paper. The shaky handwriting of a child. Thank you, doctor. I have to go find Sister Sophie. I am Noah Westwood. If anyone looks for me, please tell them I'm sorry for being missing so long. The paper trembled in Sophia's hands, tears falling onto the words. You still remembered your name. You were still looking for me. Jack's throat tightened. He never forgot. He never ever forgot. The next trace led them to a homeless shelter in downtown LA. A volunteer, Carlos Rodriguez, 55, once homeless himself, vividly remembered a blonde teenager from 2005-2007. Yeah, I remember him, Carlos said, standing in the shelter's storage room, surrounded by donated clothes and blankets. Skinny kid, always drawing. He'd drop by for meals, sleep a night, then leave. Very quiet, but he'd draw for the kids here, beautiful work. He said he drew to remember home. Did he talk about family? Sophia asked. Yes, he said he had a sister named Sophie and was looking for her, but he didn't know where to start. No papers, no money. I told him to go to the police. He refused. Adults hurt me. I don't trust anyone. When did you last see him? James asked. Around 2007, 2008. He said he'd head north, said maybe his sister was there. I gave him 50 and a warm jacket. He thanked me and never came back. The investigative team widened the circle to San Francisco and nearby cities. 2 more months passed and another piece surfaced. In 2010, a young man around 19 was brought to San Francisco General after a motorcycle accident. Severe injuries, broken leg, concussion, no ID, and his pocket was a slip of paper, a drawing of a house, a piano, and in the words Sophie. That's my brother, Sophia choked as she reviewed the file. It's definitely him. They met Dr. William Chen, the attending physician, now 60. I remember that young man. He was in a coma for 3 weeks. When he woke, he had partial amnesia, couldn't recall his full name, no address. He kept repeating, where is Sophie? I have to find Sophie. We tried to help, but without documents, there was nothing to query. How long did he stay? James asked. 3 months. We treated his injuries and tried to jog his memory. Gradually, he recalled fragments, the name Noah, a seaside house, piano. We notified police. They cross-checked missing persons, but nothing matched. The Noah Westwood file was too old, and at 19, he looked nothing like the photo of a 4-year-old boy. Where did he go? Sophia's voice shook. Upon discharge, he said he'd keep looking for Sophie. He worked at a nearby cafe to get by. I'd see him occasionally. He sold drawings at Fisherman's Wharf, very skilled. Then one day gone. The owner said he quit, said he'd head south. Another lead in 2015 at Venice Beach. A street artist appeared selling hand-drawn paintings. Description about 24 long blonde hair, scruffy beard, very taciturn. He painted families' children's homes, introduced himself as Noah, never gave a surname. Sophia and Jack went to Venice Beach and asked around the artist community. The sea breeze carried the scent of salt and incense as street performers and vendors packed up their wares for the day. I know him, said Marcus, 50, graying, sun-browned, arranging his paintings of ocean scenes. Noah, good kid, always helping, drew free for poor kids. Didn't say much about his past, but I knew he was looking for someone named Sophie. Where is he now? Sophia asked, eyes filling. He left around 2018, said he'd go east New Mexico or Arizona. Said he had a feeling Sophie was that way. I didn't get it, but he was determined. He left me a piece. Marcus brought out a framed drawing, a little girl of 8 and a little boy of 4 holding hands looking out at the sea. Signed below, Noah for Marcus, 2018, family is everything. Sophia clutched the painting and broke down. You've been looking for me all this time and so alone. Jack laid a hand on her shoulder. We're close to finding him. The search radius shifted to Arizona. 3 weeks later, they hit a trace at a small art center in Sedona. In 2020, an artist named Noah, no surname, held a small exhibition. Theme Searching for Home. 20 paintings about family love and loss. The center's owner, Sarah Mitchell, 45, recounted, Noah was very sensitive. He said he'd been separated from his family as a child, that he painted to remember them, and hoped one day they'd see his work and recognize him. Is he still here? Sophia asked, her voice trembling. No, he left in T2, said he'd return to California. He said he had a dream his sister was looking for him. He had to go back. He left an email address. Let me check. Sarah opened her computer. Here it is, noah.findinghome@gmail.com. I sent a few messages, but after 2023, there was no reply. James wrote down the email. We'll trace it with a tech specialist's help. They tracked it. The account was last logged in May 2025 from an IP address in Los Angeles. He's back in LA, James concluded, excitement in his voice. He's here right now. The IP led to a small internet cafe in Echo Park. The owner, a young man named David, recognized a long-haired blonde man, about 34, who often used the computers. What did he do online? Sophia asked, heart racing. Searching, David replied, typing an imaginary keyboard. Typing Sophia Westwood, Noah Westwood missing, and looking up missing child cases. He looked so sad. I asked if he needed help. He just shook his head. Has he been in lately? No, last time was in June. He said he'd go to places my sister might see my paintings. I didn't quite get it. Sophia pondered. Places with exhibitions, farmers markets, public spaces. James nodded. Exactly. We need to canvas art fairs, street exhibits, anywhere artists sell. They fanned out across Los Angeles markets, art fairs, street, corner galleries. Jack brought Emma along. Sometimes the little girl excited to be part of the big adventure, though they carefully shielded her from the painful details. 2 weeks passed with no results, and despair crept into the corners of Sophia's eyes. One evening, she sat on the sand at Venice Beach, watching the sun sink into the Pacific. Jack sat beside her, Emma building a sandcastle nearby. Where are you? Sophia whispered to the ocean. Where are you, Buckle? We'll find him, Jack reassured her, his voice low so Emma wouldn't hear. I promise. 30 years, Jack. 30 years I've searched. Now I know he's alive, know he's somewhere near, and I still haven't seen him. Don't give up. Nugget is looking for you, and you're looking for him. You two will meet, I believe it. Emma ran over her small hands full of seashells. Look what I found. Can we put them in the mansion? Sophia smiled, wiping away tears. Of course. We'll make a special display just for your collection. Emma beamed and returned to her sandcastle. Jack watched his daughter, then turned to Sophia. Thank you for including her in all this. It means a lot to her. And to me. She's wonderful, Jack. So full of life. She reminds me of Noah at that age, always exploring, always creating. Over the past weeks, Jack and Emma had become fixtures at the Westwood Mansion. Emma was fascinated by the grand piano, though no one played it. She'd sit for hours drawing next to it, creating pictures of what she imagined Noah looked like based on Jack's stories. Will Uncle Noah like me when we find him? She asked one evening over dinner. Jack's fork paused halfway to his mouth. Uncle Noah, Emma nodded matter-of-factly. That's what Sophia calls him. Nugget. But I can't call him that because I just met him, so he's Uncle Noah. Sophia and Jack exchanged glances across the table. In her innocent way, Emma had already incorporated Noah into their growing circle, this makeshift family forming around the search. Later that night, after Emma had gone to bed in one of the mansion's guest rooms, Sophia and Jack sat in the kitchen sharing a bottle of wine. I haven't used this dining room in years, Sophia admitted, looking around the space now filled with case files, maps, and Emma's drawings. Not since my parents died. Now it feels alive again. Jack swirled his wine, watching the ruby liquid catch the light. After Nathan disappeared, I stopped believing in happy endings. Then Emma came along and gave me hope again. Now searching for Noah with you, I'm starting to believe that sometimes things do come full circle. I've never told anyone this, Sophia said, her voice dropping, but I've never let myself love anyone. Every relationship failed because I couldn't stop searching. How could I build a life when my family was shattered? I understand. Jack's eyes met hers across the table. When Nathan vanished, I lived half my life in guilt. But meeting you, I've felt hope for the first time in 20 years. Something shifted between them in that moment, a recognition of shared pain, of parallel journeys converging. Sophia reached across the table and laid her hand on his, a simple touch that acknowledged everything neither needed to say. The next weekend, when hope was beginning to wane, Sophia's phone rang. Jessica, her best friend, sounded breathless. Sophie, I just saw a man selling paintings at the Hollywood Farmers Market. His paintings are of a white piano in a house by the sea, exactly like you described. Sophia shot to her feet, heart thundering. Are you still there? I'm standing right here. I won't take my eyes off him. Keep him there. I'm on my way. She called Jack immediately. Jack, Jessica may have found Noah at the Hollywood Farmers Market. Can you come right now? 15 minutes later, Jack and Emma arrived at the mansion. The three piled into Sophia's car, and she sped through the streets of Los Angeles, her heart pounding as if it would burst out of her chest. Jack sat in the passenger seat, his hand gripping the door handle. Easy, he cautioned as she narrowly missed a delivery truck. We're very close. Don't let anything happen now. That's my brother, Jack, Sophia's voice broke. After 30 years, that's my brother. Emma bounced in the back seat. We're going to meet Uncle Noah. Is he nice, Daddy? The nicest, Jack assured her, exchanging a glance with Sophia. Neither voiced their shared fear. What if it wasn't Noah? What if Jessica was wrong? What if Noah didn't recognize Sophia, or worse, didn't want to be found? 20 minutes later, they reached the Hollywood Farmers Market, a bustling fairground with hundreds of stalls, people packed shoulder to shoulder, the smell of food mingling with lively street music. Jessica waited at the gate, waving frantically. Sophie, he's still there, third row on the left, near the flower stand. Sophia ran after Jessica, Jack close behind, holding Emma's hand. Heartbeats hammered so hard they could barely breathe. And then they saw him. He sat on a small wooden stool, a tarp behind him, crowded with paintings. About 34 shoulder-length blonde hair, a bit of stubble, sun-browned skin, a worn white t-shirt, jeans, old sneakers. In front of him was a sign, Noah, street artist, hand-drawn $20, $50. He was sketching a little girl of about 5, his pencil strokes gentle and precise. The girl's mother stood beside them, smiling. But what froze Sophia were the paintings behind him. Everywhere, a house by the sea, a white piano, a girl holding a little boy's hand. Each piece overflowed with love, longing, and hope. My little one, Sophia whispered, tears spilling over. Jack stood beside her, trembling too. That's Nugget. It has to be. The man handed the sketch to the little girl. Here you go. You're very pretty. Thank you, mister. The girl squealed and her mother paid and led her away. He stood and stretched, turned back to arrange his paintings, then froze. He felt someone's gaze on him. He turned and saw her, a 38-year-old woman with ombre blonde hair and blue eyes brimming with tears, standing about 5 meters away. Beside her was a tall man whose eyes were also wet, holding the hand of a small girl, staring up at him in wonder. Time seemed to stop. Noah looked into the woman's eyes, blue just like his, a face so familiar it felt strange, as if he'd seen it all his life in dreams and scattered fragments of memory. Do you want to buy a painting? His voice was gentle, uncertain. Sophia took step after trembling step forward. Noah Nugget, is that you? Noah edged back half a step, confused. You know my name? Who are you? You are Noah Westwood, Sophia said, voice barely steady. You were kidnapped on June 15, 1990 at Griffith Park when you were 4. You have an older sister named Sophia. I call you Nugget. Mom played Chopin nocturnes. Dad was a director. Our house looks out over the sea with a white piano. And I am Sophia. I've been looking for you for 30 years. Noah stood motionless as tears burst forth. In his mind, flashes appeared, a little girl holding his hand, the sound of a piano, the smell of the ocean, warm sunlight. Sis, Sophie, he choked up. I've been looking for you my whole life. And I've been looking for you my whole life. Sophia threw her arms around Noah. He hugged her back, sobbing. This isn't a dream, is it? No, sweetheart. This is real. My Nugget, you're home. They held each other in the middle of the crowded market. Passers-by stopped, not understanding, but seeing love two people who had been lost for far too long finally finding each other. Jack stood a few steps away, hesitant to intrude. He simply watched crying, seeing the boy he had loved like a brother, now a grown man. Noah slipped from his sister's embrace and spotted Jack. He startled. Jack, Jack, is that really you? Jack nodded, tears streaming. Nugget, I looked for you. I'm sorry I lost you. Noah let go of Sophia and rushed to hug Jack tightly. You still remembered me. You still looked for me. Never forgot. Not for a single day, Jack said, weeping openly now. I promised I'd protect you and I... No. Noah shook his head, meeting Jack's eyes. You gave me love when I needed it most. You taught me to hope. You're the best brother I could have had, and you helped Sophie find me. You didn't fail. You are my hero. Emma tugged at Noah's shirt, her eyes wide with wonder. Are you my Uncle Noah, Daddy? And Sophia have been looking everywhere for you. I helped too. Noah knelt down to Emma's level, wiping his tears as he smiled at her. You must be Emma. Yes, I'm Noah. And you look just like your dad, brave and kind. Thank you for helping find me. I drew pictures of you, Umda announced proudly. Daddy says you draw too. I do. Noah laughed through his tears. Maybe we can draw together sometime? Right now? Emma asked hopefully. The adults laughed, a release of 30 years of tension breaking in a child's simple question. Noah looked up at Sophia and Jack, a family forming in real time around him. I have so many questions, he said softly. So many years to account for. We have time now, Sophia assured him, taking his hand. All the time in the world. Let's go home, Nugget. Let's go home together. As Noah packed up his artwork, helped by Emma, who insisted on carrying his pencils, Sophia leaned against Jack, overwhelmed by emotion. We did it, she whispered. You kept your promise, after all. Jack watched Noah carefully wrapping his paintings, images of the home he'd never forgotten, the family he'd never stopped searching for. No, Sophia, we kept our promise. All of us. The Westwood mansion glowed in the late afternoon sunlight as Sophia's car pulled into the circular driveway. Noah sat in the passenger seat, his collection of paintings and sketches carefully packed in the trunk. His eyes swept over the expansive Pacific Palisades property, recognition and disbelief mingling in his expression. It's exactly how I've been drawing it all these years, he whispered, gazing at the modern white structure perched on the cliff's edge, the endless blue of the Pacific stretching beyond. The ocean view, the big windows. It was never just imagination. Jack's truck pulled in behind them, Emma already unbuckling her seatbelt before he'd fully stopped. The little girl tumbled out and raced to Noah's side, grabbing his hand. Come on, Uncle Noah, I'll show you the piano. Noah allowed himself to be pulled toward the house, his steps faltering as they reached the entrance. Sophia unlocked the door, pushing it open to reveal the soaring ceiling of the main hall. Welcome home, Nugget. The moment Noah stepped across the threshold, 30 years of separation collapsed. His body remembered what his conscious mind had struggled to piece together, the smell of the sea air through the windows, the way sunlight moved across the Italian marble floors, the particular acoustics of the space that had once held his family's voices. Emma tugged him through the entryway into the great room. There, positioned before the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Pacific, sat the white grand piano. Dust had settled on its gleaming surface, untouched for decades. Noah broke free from Emma's grip and moved toward it as if in a trance. His fingers trembled as they made contact with the smooth ivory and ebony keys. The moment his skin touched the cool surface, memory flooded through him. His mother sitting here playing Chopin, his father standing nearby with a proud smile, Sophie's small hand in his as they listened. Mom played here, he murmured, pressing one key that rang out in the silent room. Every night before bed. Yes, Sophia confirmed, coming to stand beside him. She loved Chopin. She taught me a little, but you were her real audience. You would sit for hours completely absorbed in her playing. Noah's hand moved to the piano bench, brushing away years of dust. Mom, Dad, where are they, Sophie? Sophia laid her hand on his shoulder, tears forming. They're gone, love. The pain of losing you was too great. Noah sank to his knees before the piano, collapsing under the weight of this revelation. I'm sorry I tried to find my way home, but I couldn't remember it. I couldn't. His voice broke sobs, racking his body as 30 years of searching, hoping and fearing crashed over him at once. It was never your fault. Sophia knelt beside him, wrapping her arms around his shaking form. You were a victim, Noah. A child. Now you're home and I will never let you go again. Jack stood in the doorway, Emma clutched against his leg, watching the siblings reunite in grief and love. The little girl looked up at her father, her eyes wide with concern. Why is Uncle Noah crying, Daddy? Jack lifted Emma into his arms, whispering against her hair. Because sometimes when you find something you've been looking for your whole life, it's so wonderful it makes you cry. Like when I found Mr. Whiskers when he was lost for 3 days. Just like that, sweetheart, but Noah was lost for much longer. Emma wiggled free and approached the siblings cautiously. She reached out, patting Noah's arm with her small hand. It's okay, Uncle Noah. You're not lost anymore. And you can share my daddy if you want. He's really good at fixing things that are broken. Noah looked up through his tears, taking in the innocent offer of this child who had no concept of the magnitude of his loss, yet understood perfectly what he needed. Thank you, Emma. I think I'd like that very much. The next few days unfolded in a gentle rhythm as Noah settled into the mansion. Sophia took a leave of absence from her production company, canceling meetings and postponing projects. Nothing mattered more than helping her brother acclimate to a life he'd been stolen from. Noah moved into a guest suite overlooking the ocean, though he spent little time there. Instead, he wandered the house like a ghost, touching objects, opening doors, standing in different spots, as if trying to align his fractured memories with the physical space. Sometimes he'd stop suddenly, recognition lighting his face. Dad's study was here, or we ate breakfast on this patio every Sunday. Jack and Emma became fixtures in the mansion during this adjustment period. Jack had taken family leave from his maintenance job, explaining the extraordinary circumstances to his supervisor. Emma was on summer break from second grade, thrilled by the adventure of temporarily living in what she called the castle by the sea. On the third evening after Emma had gone to bed in one of the guest rooms, Noah, Sophia, and Jack gathered in the kitchen. The space had become their natural meeting ground, less formal than the dining room, more intimate than the expansive living areas. I'm ready to talk about everything, Noah said, clutching a mug of tea between his hands. All the years in between. For the next several hours, Noah unfolded his story, the fragmented memories of being taken from the park, the years with the Andersons, who despite obtaining him illegally, had been kind caretakers until their deaths. He spoke of the orphanage, of Jack's protection, of Frank Miller's brutal assault that drove him to flee. Then came the hardest parts: years on the streets, the hunger, the fear, the constant search for Sophie, whose face he couldn't quite remember, but whose presence he felt in every fiber of his being. Art saved me, Noah explained, showing them sketchbooks he'd brought from his small apartment in Echo Park. When everything else failed, memory, hope, strength, I could still draw. And every time I drew that house, that piano, that girl holding my hand, I kept a piece of myself alive. The accident in San Francisco had nearly ended everything. The doctor said I was lucky to survive the crash. 3 weeks in a coma. When I woke up, I had patches of amnesia. I knew my name was Noah, but I couldn't remember my last name. I knew I had a sister named Sophie, but I couldn't recall her face clearly. I knew there was a house by the ocean with a piano, but I couldn't remember where. He turned to Jack, eyes shining with emotion. But I never forgot you, Jack. Even when other memories faded, I remembered the boy who believed me when no one else did. The teenager who promised to protect me. I kept looking for you too. Jack swallowed hard, struggling to maintain composure. I never stopped searching either. Every blonde boy on the street, every young man who looked vaguely like you might have grown to be, I'd follow them, sometimes for blocks, hoping it was you. Life throws away people like us, Noah said quietly. Orphans, runaways, the abandoned. The system processes us, files us away, forgets us. But we remember each other. We have to. Sophia listened, horrified and heartbroken by her brother's ordeal, yet moved by his resilience. How did you survive alone as a teenager? I wasn't always alone. There were good people, shelter volunteers, other street kids who looked out for me, artists who taught me techniques in exchange for helping them set up at fairs. But I never stayed anywhere long. Something always pulled me onward, like a voice saying, keep looking. She's out there. And you remember everything now, Sophia asked. Noah shook his head. Not everything, it comes in flashes. The psychiatrist at San Francisco General called it traumatic memory fragmentation. Some things are crystal clear, the sound of mom's piano, the smell of dad's cologne. Others are still hazy. He looked at Sophia, vulnerability evident in his expression. I need you to help me fill in the blanks, Sophie. Tell me about them, our parents. Tell me who they were, who we were as a family. Through tears and laughter, Sophia reconstructed their childhood for Noah, their father's storytelling sessions on the back patio, their mother's Sunday morning pancakes shaped like animals, the Christmas when 4-year-old Noah received his first art set and covered the walls with drawings. She described their parents' love story, their careers, their dreams for their children. Mom kept your room exactly as you left it for 2 years after you disappeared, Sophia revealed. She'd make your favorite foods and set a place for you at the table every night. Dad threw himself into the search, spent millions, appeared on every television show begging for information. They never stopped looking. Noah absorbed each detail like parched earth takes water, his identity, reforming with each revelation. And what happened to them? Tell me everything, even the painful parts. Sophia described their mother's descent into depression, the sleeping pills, the note, then their father's alcoholism, the car crash that might have been deliberate. I found Mom. I was 10. Aunt Margaret took me in afterward, but I always came back to this house. I couldn't leave it. Somehow I knew you'd find your way back here someday. Dawn was breaking over the ocean when they finally exhausted their stories. Noah stood by the windows watching the light change over the water. I want to visit them, Mom and Dad, to say goodbye properly. We'll go tomorrow, Sophia promised. Together. Later that morning, Jack took Emma to the beach, while Sophia drove Noah to the cemetery where Julia and David Westwood rested side by side beneath a simple granite marker. Noah knelt on the manicured grass, placing his hand on the cool stone. Mom, Dad, I'm home, he whispered, his voice breaking. I'm sorry I'm late. I tried to find my way back to you. Sophia stood beside him, her hand on his shoulder. They knew you were alive, Noah. They felt it. Dad used to say, a father knows when his child is still in the world. Do you think they can see us now, together again? I know they can, Sophia answered, kneeling beside him, and they're at peace, Emaze. Noah placed a small sketch on the grave, a family of 4 standing together before a white piano, the ocean visible through windows behind them. The family he remembered, the family he'd lost, the family he'd spent a lifetime trying to reclaim. In the days that followed, Noah began the complex process of legally reclaiming his identity. James Rodriguez coordinated with authorities presenting the evidence from Rebecca Lawson's notebook, along with DNA testing that confirmed Noah and Sophia's sibling relationship. The case attracted attention from law enforcement agencies across the country as the notebook implicated dozens of individuals in a child trafficking ring that had operated for decades. What will happen to the others in the notebook? Noah asked James during a meeting at the mansion. We're tracking them down, both the perpetrators and the victims. Some of the children may not want to be found. They've built lives with their adoptive families. Others like you may have been searching. Either way, they deserve to know the truth. Noah nodded, understanding the complexity. And what about Frank Miller, the supervisor who beat me at Sunshine? James exchanged glances with Sophia and Jack. We found him. He's working as a security manager at a shopping center in Glendale. Noah's expression hardened. I want to see him. Noah, that might not be wise, Sophia cautioned. The police can handle him. There's enough evidence in Rebecca's notebook to charge him with child abuse, possibly accessory to trafficking, if he knew about the fake paperwork. I need to do this, Noah insisted, his voice steady. Not for revenge, for closure. I ran from him in terror when I was 14. I've been running ever since. I need to face him as the man I've become. Jack, who had remained silent, finally spoke. I understand. When you disappeared, I wanted to kill Miller with my bare hands. I went back to Sunshine looking for him, but he'd already been suspended. That anger, that helplessness, it eats at you. Exactly, Noah agreed. I need to close this circle. Reluctantly, Sophia and James conceded. They arranged to visit the shopping center the following day with plainclothes officers stationed nearby in case the confrontation escalated. Jack insisted on coming, leaving Emma with Jessica for the afternoon. The Glendale Galleria bustled with midday shoppers as the group entered through the main doors. James led them to the security office tucked behind a service corridor. Through the glass partition, they could see Frank Miller, now 62, barking orders at a younger security guard. "Wait here," James advised, stepping into the office first. A brief conversation followed, then James beckoned the others inside. Miller looked up from his desk, his eyes widening as they settled on Noah. 20 years had aged him. His once imposing frame had shrunk. His hair had thin lines mapped his face like roads on a weathered map. But the cold eyes remained unchanged. "Price?" Miller's voice cracked in disbelief. "Nathan Price, impossible." Noah stepped forward, standing tall before the man who had once towered over him. "My name is Noah Westwood. You knew me as Nathan Price at Sunshine Orphanage. You beat me unconscious when I was 14 years old for drawing past lights out." Miller's face drained of color. His eyes darted to Jack, recognition dawning. "Morrison, what is this justice?" Jack replied simply, his hands clenched at his sides. Noah continued, his voice steady despite the emotions churning beneath the surface. "I'm not here for revenge, Miller. I'm here to tell you that I survived. Despite everything, the system that failed me, the people who stole me from my family, the violence you inflicted, I survived. I found my sister. I found my way home." Miller attempted to stand, but Noah's presence seemed to push him back into his chair. "Look, kid, that was 20 years ago. I was just doing my job, maintaining discipline. Beating children is never just doing your job." Noah cut him off. "How many others did you hurt? How many ran away like me and weren't lucky enough to survive?" Miller's eyes narrowed, defiance replacing fear. "You can't prove anything. It's your word against mine, and you were just a troublemaking orphan with delusions about some fancy family." "Delusions?" Sophia stepped forward, placing her hand on Noah's shoulder. "I'm Sophia Westwood. That fancy family was real. My brother was kidnapped and sold into illegal adoption. You were part of the system that perpetuated his abuse." Miller attempted to push past them. "This is harassment. I'm calling the police." "Already here," James announced as two plainclothes detectives stepped into the office. "Frank Miller, you're under arrest for child endangerment, aggravated assault, and potential accessory charges in a child trafficking investigation." As the detectives read Miller his rights, Noah watched with a complicated mixture of emotions. The monster of his nightmares had shrunk to human size, a pathetic aging man who had wielded what little power he possessed to terrorize children who couldn't fight back. "Was it worth it?" Noah asked as the handcuffs clicked shut around Miller's wrists. "Hurting kids who had already lost everything." Miller had no answer as the detectives led him away. Noah stood motionless in the center of the office, processing the moment he had both dreaded and needed for 20 years. Jack approached cautiously. "Are you okay?" "I'm not sure," Noah admitted. "I thought I'd feel something different. Relief maybe, or satisfaction." "And what do you feel?" Noah considered the question. "Mostly I feel sorry for him. What a small, empty life, hurting children to feel powerful. I'm glad he can't hurt anyone else now." Outside in the California sunshine, Noah took a deep breath. "For 20 years I've been carrying the weight of that night, the fear, the pain, the shame of running away. I think I can finally put it down now." Sophia embraced her brother. "You're the bravest person I've ever known, Noah Westwood." "I had good examples," Noah replied, looking at Jack. "I learned from the best." The confrontation with Miller marked a turning point in Noah's recovery. Having faced his past, he could more fully embrace his future. He moved permanently into the Westwood mansion, converting one of the unused rooms into an art studio where light poured in through tall windows facing the ocean. Sophia helped Noah establish his legal identity, retrieving his social security number from dormant records, obtaining a new birth certificate, creating the paper trail that would allow him to exist officially in the world again. The process was complicated by the unusual circumstances, but Sophia's connections and resources smoothed the way. As autumn approached, Sophia proposed an idea she'd been contemplating. "Noah, what would you think about holding an exhibition? Your art tells the story of our family, of your journey home. It might help others who are searching, who have lost someone." Noah was hesitant at first. "My art has always been private, a conversation with memories, with the family I was trying to find. Sharing it feels vulnerable." "That's precisely why it would be powerful," Sophia argued gently. "You're not alone in your experience. There are others out there lost, separated, trying to find their way back to each other." After consideration, Noah agreed. but not at some trendy gallery, somewhere accessible to everyone, especially kids aging out of foster care, people who need to believe reunions are possible. They settled on a community arts center in East Los Angeles, not far from where Sunshine Orphanage had once stood. Noah titled the exhibition, Finding Home: A 30-Year Journey, and selected 50 pieces that chronicled his life from childhood memories, rendered in adult technique, to streetscapes, where he'd slept homeless, to studies of the Westwood Mansion, recreated from memory, to portraits of Sophia imagined at different ages. On opening night, the small gallery overflowed. Jack and Emma arrived early, helping with final arrangements. Emma, dressed in her special occasion dress, appointed herself unofficial tour guide, leading visitors through the exhibition with the confidence of a seasoned curator. "This one shows where Uncle Noah slept under bridges," she explained to an elderly couple, pointing to a charcoal drawing of a concrete underpass. "But this one," she continued, moving to a vibrant oil painting of the Westwood Mansion, "is where he lives now with Aunt Sophie, and sometimes with me and Daddy." The simple narrative struck the heart of Noah's story more effectively than any formal artist's statement could have. Visitors moved through the space in reverent silence, many wiping away tears as they followed the visual journey of a lost child finding his way home across 3 decades. Midway through the evening, Noah found himself standing before a large canvas he'd completed just days before the exhibition. It depicted the moment at the farmer's market when he'd first seen Sophia approaching him, her face illuminated with recognition and hope, Jack and Emma slightly behind her. He'd titled it simply, Recognition. A woman in her 50s stopped beside him, studying the painting. "Your work is extraordinary. The emotion in these pieces, it's so raw, so authentic." "Thank you," Noah replied, not mentioning he was the artist. "My son disappeared when he was 7. She continued, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. "It's been 15 years. Most people think I should move on, whatever that means. Your exhibition gives me permission to keep hoping." Noah turned to her, seeing his mother in her eyes, the same determined hope that had sustained Julia Westwood until despair finally claimed her. "Don't ever stop," he told her quietly. "My sister searched for 30 years to find me. As long as there's love, there's reason to hope." Later, as the crowd thinned, Jack found Noah on the small patio behind the gallery. "Quite a success in there," he observed, joining him on a bench. "You've touched a lot of people tonight." "It's strange," Noah reflected. "For so long, my art was the only way I could hold on to memories that seemed more like dreams. Now it's become a bridge to others who are experiencing their own versions of loss." "You always had that gift," Jack said. Even at the orphanage. The way you drew it wasn't just skill. You captured feelings, made people believe in something beyond those dingy walls." Noah smiled at the memory. "You were the only one who believed my stories about the house by the sea, the sister named Sophie. Everyone else thought I was making it up, or remembering movies I'd seen." "I believed because I recognized truth when I heard it," Jack replied. "And because I needed to believe families like that existed somewhere in the world." Inside, Emma had convinced Sophia to play the piano, a skill she'd abandoned after her mother's death, but had recently begun reclaiming. The tentative notes of a Chopin nocturne drifted through the open door, drawing Noah and Jack back inside. Noah stood transfixed as his sister played the same melody their mother had performed countless times. The music connected past and present, bridging the 30-year chasm that had separated them. When Sophia finished, the small audience applauded warmly. Noah embraced her, whispering thanks too profound for public expression. As autumn deepened into winter, the Westwood Mansion underwent a transformation. Rooms that had been shrouded and silent for decades filled with light and sound. The white piano, professionally restored, became the center of evening gatherings. Noah took lessons, discovering an aptitude inherited from his mother. Sophia resumed playing the pieces she'd learned as a child. Jack and Emma became regular fixtures in the household. Emma's second-grade class schedule dictated much of their routine, but weekends and evenings often found them at the mansion. Emma had her own room there, decorated with ocean themes and furnished with an easel where Noah taught her drawing techniques. The relationship between Sophia and Jack evolved cautiously, neither willing to disrupt the delicate family balance they'd created. But the current beneath their interactions grew stronger, evident in lingering glances, in the way their hands occasionally brushed when passing items at dinner and late-night conversations after Emma and Noah had gone to bed. One evening in December, Noah found Jack alone on the back terrace, staring out at the moonlight reflected on the Pacific. Everything okay? Noah asked, joining him at the railing. Jack nodded, his expression contemplative. Just thinking about how much has changed in a few months. This time last year, I was fixing leaky faucets in apartments across town, worried about making rent. Now I'm here part of whatever this is becoming. Family, Noah supplied simply. That's what we're becoming. Jack turned to him. You really think so? I know so. Emma calls Sophia Aunt Sophie now. Did you notice? And Sophia looks at her like she's the daughter she never had. A shadow crossed Jack's face. Sophia Westwood is an Oscar-nominated director living in a mansion in Pacific Palisades. I'm a maintenance man with a high school education raising a daughter alone. Those worlds don't typically merge. Maybe they should, Noah countered. You're the man who kept faith when everyone else abandoned me. You're the father who raised an incredible daughter alone after her mother left. You're the friend who helped my sister find me after 30 years. If anyone deserves happiness, with Sophia, it's you. Jack's expression softened. When did you get so wise, Nugget? Somewhere between the streets of San Francisco and the galleries of Sedona, Noah replied with a smile. Life gives hard lessons, but valuable ones. Inside, Emma's delighted laughter rang out as Sophia demonstrated how to make shadow puppets on the wall. The sound drew both men back indoors to the warmth of the living room, where wood crackled in the fireplace, and Christmas decorations, the first the mansion had seen in decades, sparkled in the soft light. As Christmas approached, Noah worked secretly on special gifts. For Emma, he painted a magical underwater scene for her bedroom, populated with mermaids who resembled her. For Jack, he restored and framed one of his childhood drawings from the orphanage, the one where Jack had first promised to help him find his family. For Sophia, he created something more profound. On Christmas morning, Emma woke everyone at dawn, her excitement impossible to contain. They gathered in the living room around a towering pine tree adorned with ornaments Sophia had preserved from their childhood Christmases. Presents spilled out across the floor, a testament to 30 years of giving compressed into a single celebration. Emma's delight at each gift, from art supplies to books to the dollhouse, Sophia had found that replicated the Westwood mansion, filled the room with joy. Jack received practical items from Sophia, a new watch, winter clothes, and sentimental ones from Noah, the framed drawing, a handcrafted wooden box similar to the one Jack's father had made. When it came time for Noah's gift to Sophia, he retrieved a large package from his studio. This took some research, he explained, as she carefully removed the wrapping paper. Inside was a portrait not of Sophia or Noah, but of Julia and David Westwood. Noah had used photographs as references, but had painted them as they might have looked in the present day had they lived. Julia with elegant silver streaking her blonde hair. David with distinguished lines around his eyes, both with expressions of serene joy. Oh, Noah, Sophia whispered, touching the canvas reverently. It's them, exactly as they would have been. Look at what they're holding, Noah directed gently. In the portrait, Julia and David held a framed family photograph, the image that had been found in David's car after the crash, the last complete family portrait from Christmas 1994. But Noah had altered it, slightly adding present-day versions of himself and Sophia standing behind their younger selves, completing the circle of past and present. They're still with us, Noah said quietly. They've witnessed our reunion, our healing. They know we found our way back to each other. Sophia could only nod through her tears, embracing her brother with the painting carefully protected between them. The emotional pinnacle of the day, however, came unexpectedly. After dinner, as they sat around the fireplace drinking hot chocolate, Jack cleared his throat nervously. I have one more gift, he announced, reaching into his pocket. It's not wrapped, and it's not exactly a Christmas present. More of a question. He turned to Sophia, who sat beside him on the sofa. From his pocket, he withdrew a small velvet box. Sophia Westwood, in the strangest circumstances imaginable, I found a family I never thought possible. You've brought light back into my life, hope back into my heart, and love I never dreamed I deserved. Sophia's eyes widened as Jack opened the box, revealing a simple but elegant diamond ring. I'm not a wealthy man or a famous one. I fix things that are broken. It's the only real talent I have. But I promise to spend the rest of my life helping to fix the broken places in your heart if you'll let me. Jack, Sophia breathed, her hand trembling as it covered her mouth. Will you marry me? Will you make this patchwork family we've created official? Sophia looked from Jack to Noah to Emma, whose expression of hopeful anticipation mirrored her father's. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes, of course, yes. Emma erupted in cheers, launching herself at both adults in a fierce hug. Noah watched his heart full beyond measure as the scene he had drawn countless times throughout his life. A family whole and happy, in the house by the sea, manifested before his eyes. Later, after Emma had finally succumbed to sleep among her new treasures and Jack and Sophia had slipped out for a private moment on the terrace, Noah sat at the white piano. His fingers moved across the keys, playing the nocturne. His mother had love that Sophia had reclaimed that now belonged to all of them. The melody filled the house, drifting through rooms that had known profound grief and were now learning profound joy. Noah played for his parents wherever they were. He played for his sister, who had never given up. He played for Jack, who had kept faith when it made no sense to believe. He played for Emma, who would grow up knowing only love and belonging. Most of all, he played for himself, for the lost boy who had finally, after 30 years, found his way home. As the final notes faded into the peaceful silence of the mansion, Noah closed the piano and walked to the windows. The moonlight silvered the waves, rolling endlessly toward shore, constant as the love that had sustained him through decades of separation. He placed his palm against the cool glass, feeling the vibration of the ocean's distant power. "I made it, Mom," he whispered to the night. "I kept my promise. I found my way back to the white piano, to Sister Sophie, to our house by the sea." 6 months later, on a perfect June afternoon, the Westwood mansion hosted a small but joyous wedding. Sophia, radiant in a simple ivory gown, married Jack on the back terrace overlooking the Pacific. Emma served as flower girl, scattering rose petals with theatrical flair. Noah stood as Jack's best man, while Jessica attended Sophia. Among the guests were James Rodriguez and his wife Margaret Thornton, now 80, and delighted to see her niece finally find happiness in several individuals who had been identified through Rebecca Lawson's notebook, other children, now adults, who had been trafficked by the same ring that had taken Noah. Some had chosen to reconnect with biological families. Others had stayed with the only families they had known. All recognized in each other a shared experience that no one else could truly understand. As Jack and Sophia exchanged vows, Noah found himself reflecting on the extraordinary journey that had brought them to this moment. From a frightened orphan protecting a 6-year-old who claimed to have a house by the sea, to a homeless teen searching for a sister whose face he couldn't quite remember, to a street artist drawing the same scenes over and over in hopes of reconnecting with his past. Every step, every choice, every coincidence had been necessary to create this new reality. During the reception, Noah took a moment alone in his studio. On an easel sat his current project, a family portrait of Sophia. Jack, Emma, and himself gathered around the white piano. The painting wasn't quite finished, but its essence was clear. 4 people who had each known profound loss finding in each other the healing they needed. A small knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. Emma peeked in her flower girl dress, slightly rumpled from dancing. "Uncle Noah, Daddy, and Aunt Sophie are going to cut the cake. You're missing it." Noah smiled, setting down his paintbrush. "I wouldn't miss that for the world, little one." Emma skipped over to examine his painting. "It's us, our family." "That's right," Noah confirmed, lifting her for a better view. "What do you think?" Emma studied the canvas seriously. "It's perfect, but you should add Rex too." "Rex? My new puppy, didn't Daddy tell you?" He said, "Now that we're moving in permanently, I can finally have a dog. We're picking him up next week from the rescue shelter." Noah laughed, setting Emma down and taking her hand. "Then Rex will definitely need to be in the family portrait." As they walked back to the reception, Emma chattering about what color collar Rex should have in the painting, Noah felt a sense of completion he had never known before. The mansion that had haunted his dreams for 30 years was no longer a lost paradise, but a living home filled with new memories being created daily. That evening, after the guests had departed and Emma had fallen asleep, still wearing her flower crown, Noah, Sophia, and Jack sat on the terrace with glasses of champagne, watching the stars emerge over the ocean. "To new beginnings," Sophia proposed, raising her glass, "and to old promises kept." Jack added his arm around his new wife. Noah raised his glass to join the toast, words from his childhood rising unbidden to his lips, the lullaby he had sung alone on the orphanage swing all those years ago, not knowing if his memories were real or imagined. "I'll come home to the white piano, to Sister Sophie. Mom will play, Dad will tell stories, and I'll be happy." You made it, Nugget, Sophia said softly. You found your way home. No, Noah corrected, gently looking between his sister and Jack. We found each other, and that's what makes it home. The white piano gleamed in the moonlight through the windows behind them, a silent witness to promises broken and kept, to a family shattered and reformed, to a journey of 30 years condensed into a single truth. Love, persistent and unyielding, finds a way across any distance, through any darkness, against any odds. Noah Westwood. Once Nathan Price, once a lost child with fragmented memories and a heart full of longing, had finally discovered what he'd been drawing all those years, not just a house by the sea with a white piano, but the enduring connection between souls that neither time nor tragedy can sever. The circle, broken for 30 years, had finally closed. The journey was complete. The prodigal son had returned. The family was whole,